Bison actually evolved in this part of the world, and so being that they evolved in this part of the world, they're very well adapted to the conditions here. And they use the forage and the weather and such, so being adapted here, that makes them very easy to raise and to work with.
Jack Norland, a research scientist at North Dakota State University studying bison behavior, knows of one bison trait that is key to their survival.
It's been shown in several studies and other observations that bison, when they do need water. That's one of the things they absolutely need, but they tend to not stay long at watering holes. In fact, even during the summer, there have been instances where they haven't watered every day. They seem to be able to withstand not watering every day, and they'll travel long distances from water to go forage. So if the water is scarce, they will utilize a much bigger area to forage in.
Wolf Smoke, who has worked on research projects at both Wind Cave and Badlands National Park, cites examples where bison have actually found water by reopening natural springs.
There's a situation down in the Slim Buttes pasture on Pine Ridge where that area had been overgrazed by cattle for a number of years, and the natural springs that were in that range unit were all destroyed and had been not running for years due to the cattle's presence. When they first put bison in there, right after they put the bison in, they didn't have any water tanks for them in there yet because the cattle ranchers had pulled everything out. There was a big rainstorm, and it was several days before they were able to go back in and take water to them. And everybody was concerned that when they went in there, they were going to see a real debilitated bison. As soon as they went in with the water tanks, they saw that there was nothing wrong with the bison. They looked in perfect health, and they couldn't imagine how they could have gone that many days without water and be in the condition that they were. And they just happened to see one of the springs was running, and there were bison tracks around there. So they went out, they got some elders, and they had them go out and show where all the springs used to be in that range unit, and every spring in that range unit was running again because the bison somehow knew, even after I don't know how many years, they knew where all the springs were, and they dug the springs up, and they were all running.
Riparian areas are essential to wildlife on the Great Plains. The small woodland areas give protection to a variety of different animals. Sean Grassel, the wildlife biologist for the Lower Brule Sioux tribe, has witnessed the positive effect bison have on these areas.
Our woody draws, we got ash and cedar and all these different kind of brush and everything, and cattle would really trample those areas. They'd be in there for the shade, they'd be eating a lot of that forage that's in there, and buffalo just like it out in the open.
Especially in areas where the area is mostly grassland, and there's just a few pockets of woodlands or riparian areas which are wooded and such. The bison don't tend to camp in those areas very often. They tend to be grass eaters, so they will forage out in the grasslands, and bison don't seem to be that need the shade. They don't seem to be wanting to go to shade during hot days. In fact, a lot of the hottest days of the year, you'll find them sitting out on top of a hill as opposed to going down in some place that has shade. So they tend not to be as tough on some of those areas which are critical for other wildlife and have management implications.
Not only are bison good for riparian development, their herd mentality allows for healthier ecosystem development.
The biodiversity, the forbs, the plants that are here, there's just so many and such a wide variety that if this was still in cattle, you wouldn't find them here. Cattle would graze those plants down, and you just wouldn't find them.
Bison, having adapted to wide open spaces, have been noticed to always be on the move. They're always searching for new foraging areas. If they're given a large enough area, they will try and visit that whole area. They don't have a territory or area that they want to be in all the time like a lot of other animals do. And so the fact that they're somewhat nomadic in the way they do, actually they are probably a nomadic animal. And so they're always on the search for new areas. So if bison are in a big enough area, they're going to search out that whole area looking for the right forage, which is grass. If they find it, they'll stay there for a while, but they don't camp there continuously. They'll move after 3-4 days. They're going to be moving someplace else. And a lot of that's related to the fact that they're a herd animal, and if you stay in a small bunch, there's no way there's going to be adequate forage for each individual. If there's a small bunch, they're going to have to spread out and move.
Bison can forage through deep snow and also use it as a water source if none is available, but it's their metabolism that enables them to survive the harsh winters on the Great Plains.
Bison have a little different strategy in the summer and the winter. During the summer, we actually characterize their metabolism as actually rising with the summer. And they try and grow the fastest during that time, which is when the forage is the most lush and has the highest quality. Whereas in the wintertime, things are tough, the forage quality's down, the weather conditions are tough. So what they do is they drop their metabolism back down to a very basal rate, which allows them to survive well during the wintertime.
While thousands of years of evolution have prepared the bison for life on the plains, modern management decisions can still affect their survival.
You have to look at your management system, because if you put too many bison in an area, then you're going to have problems. They're going to overgraze the area because, you know, they have to eat. They're not going to look and say, well, look, we've grazed everything in this pasture. We can, you know, graze and still have it healthy. So I guess we're going to have to fast for a couple of months until the farmer, you know, gets it in his head to drop some hay bales out here. You know, that's not going to happen. They're going to keep eating when they get hungry, and when there's nothing inside, then they're going to go through the fence. Now, I don't care what kind of fence you have. If they want to go through it, they'll go through it, and they're going to look, you know, somewhere else for food.